I'm Doug Massey, and on Saturday, I released a video that is all about door knocking final expense leads. So it only makes sense that I follow up today with this video where I'm going to share some golden nuggets. Like, pretty much, I'm going to share the information that I usually only share with my licensed contracted agents, my sales team, all about the best parts of the country to sell final expense in on a face-to-face basis and why. We all have a perception, whether it's right or wrong, of where it's going to be easier to sell in. And a lot of times what happens is if you're not experienced in this business and you haven't already been there, you're going to end up wasting your time and spinning your wheels. And that's what this video is all about. We want to avoid you wasting your time trying to sell final expense in areas of certain states or certain parts of the country that just don't work. And I'm even going to share a little bit about my story of when I lived in Hallandale Beach, Florida, which was literally on the Miami-Dade, Broward County line. And I'm going to share my experience of selling face-to-face in Miami and Fort Lauderdale too. And hopefully, guys, by doing this, it's going to save you a lot of hassle and a lot of, hopefully save you some money and keep you from wasting your time. And guys, if you hang around all the way to the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to get a copy of the appointment setting super file. This thing is a free folder with a bunch of different appointment setting scripts that work great for a variety of different leads for selling final expense, basically for setting your appointments for the final expense leads. So just hang around till the end of the video. I'm going to show you how to get that. If you are getting into the final expense business and you plan on doing face-to-face sales, you're absolutely going to want that. So I grew up in the Hallandale, Hollywood area of Florida. I was born in Hollywood and I lived in Hallandale. So when we first started selling final expense, we common sense, wow, there's a lot of seniors here. We knew that. Very heavily populated area. Wow, this is going to be great. This is going to be easy. That was kind of my mentality. When we first got leads, we started working leads, we found out that it was the exact opposite. Now, the thing was, we didn't realize that some parts of the country were different than others. So I got leads in Hallandale, failed. Couldn't get in the front door with most people. We had a hard time getting them to answer the phone. The appointments that I did set, it seemed like half of them I got stood up on. And so door knocking was really the only viable way to do it. And it still really didn't work. I was kind of making enough money to get by. And look, I put a lot of work and a lot of effort into making that happen. So we actually did some mail drops in a few different areas. We tried, I believe it was North Miami Beach. We tried Little Haiti, which was an area I thought would do really well in. And what we learned was that there was a lot of gated communities. You got them, you got condominiums, and in the urban areas where we were trying to work, what we realized was a lot of these folks had like fences around their house. Some of them, you have the signs, do not enter signs. Some people actually had padlocks on their gate, on their front gate to their walkway. So that ended up being a fiasco. And it was also the same in Fort Lauderdale. Maybe not as bad because by that time, I was able to pick a few zip codes to do mail drops in. And guys, let me just say, the mail dropping is not so viable today as it was back then. Back then, I could actually get 1.5% return on mail. Today, when we drop mail nationally, we get about a 0.7 to 0.8% return, which means you're paying a lot of money for those leads. So in Fort Lauderdale, when it all came down to it, it was a little bit easier, but it was hard to close the sales. These people had already, and it was the same in Miami, had already been approached by multiple insurance agents. So they either had policies, some had multiple policies, or they just weren't interested. They just had this, what I like to refer to as the city mentality, where when someone knocks on your door, you know it's a salesperson, and the first thing that goes in your mind is, I need to get rid of this person. My belief is that working in the big cities usually does not work for face-to-face sales. And I do want to share a little bit about working in urban areas versus maybe more rural areas. And when I say urban areas, maybe like smaller cities and or towns. One of the things I still believe in is no matter what kind of lead you're working, to me, the most viable lead is like the internet or Facebook lead for face-to-face sales. The direct mail in most places are just way too expensive. So if you're selling face-to-face, I would recommend maybe try to find some exclusive like $12, $15, $18 internet leads or Facebook leads and literally just door knock them. Now, hold on. It's not going to hurt for you to spend a day setting appointments. I still believe in that. But that way you're going to find out that in most cases, you'll probably only get about 20% of those people to answer the phone. In some cases, maybe a little bit higher. Now, when I sold face-to-face, we actually, with direct mail leads back in the day, 2014 is when I started. That was my first real calendar full-time year. We were able to get more like 70% of those people to answer the phone. But like I said, nowadays it could be as low as 20%. Maybe if you're lucky and you're good and you really make a lot of calls and you work the leads hard, maybe 1 out of 3 will pick up the phone. So now, just because they pick up the phone doesn't mean they're going to take the appointment. To me, again, I still believe that you should at least have a phone day and try this before you go out door knocking. When it comes to working those urban areas, again, I kind of believe smaller areas. So I'm going to give you an example. We talked about working Miami and parts of Miami and Fort Lauderdale, which was Dade and Broward County. My wife and I'll try to make the story short. My wife and I were doing a family trip to Orlando. So we went up the turnpike all the way to Orlando, did the 3.5-hour drive there. And on the way, we passed a couple of smaller cities, a little more rural areas. And we were like, you know what, let's try dropping mail there. Maybe we can do better there. And what we found out was that's exactly what worked. That was the only way it worked, actually. So we dropped a bunch of mail. We tried a couple of different areas. I'll give you an example. One of the first areas that we worked was like Fort Myers and North Fort Myers. Now, if you're in Florida and you're thinking, ooh, that could be a hot spot, I promise you, we beat it up really badly over the years. The last couple times we went to sell in those areas, it was really difficult to sell anything. So we pretty much walked away from those areas. But I'm using them as an example because they were smaller cities, is what they were. It wasn't like Miami, it wasn't like Fort Lauderdale, it wasn't like Tampa, Jacksonville. It was smaller, more like Gainesville, for example. That's a good example. So I guess the bottom line is if you're going to work in the urban areas, it needs to be smaller cities. My preference, and this is the gold, are the rural areas. So here, I'll give you an example, another one. Okeechobee. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. In Okeechobee, they've got one of the largest lakes in the country. And so you got these little rural areas surrounding the lake. Real pain in the neck to get to. A lot of insurance agents would not do the effort to go there, and that's where we went for years. Bottom line is, if you're thinking, ooh, I'm going to give it a try, you're going to see that, once again, we beat the heck out of those areas. I mean, imagine we were dropping thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of mail year after year after year after year in Okeechobee. So I'll give you another example. The last time we dropped mail in that rural city, that rural area, about 1 out of 3 direct mail leads that came back were of people that we either already met with or they were already our clients, believe it or not. So when the last couple times we did go there, it was similar to that Fort Myers thing. We had just beat it up so bad, we had a real hard time getting appointments. And then when we did door knock the leads, it was these people already had been beaten up. They had already either had insurance or they had just no interest. They were hoping to get something free. And that's one thing about the direct mail lead, I will say, is that in most cases with the direct mail leads, the only way for you to get a decent return is to maybe offer a free Walmart gift card, or maybe the verbiage could sound something like, this is a government program, or really that's not the way to go. It's approved through the state, and that leads them to think it's a government program, which makes them think, okay, maybe I can allow this person in my house to make the presentation. And then you kind of drop the bomb that this is buying life insurance. That's kind of the old way of doing it. I would not do that nowadays, but that is how final expenses being sold face to face nowadays in our country, in the good old United States of America. And it's also, we're realizing, being sold that way in Canada and Great Britain, for those of you that Americans that don't realize that. With all of that behind us, I hope that this video actually helps you in your final expense sales business. And guys, if you'd like a copy of the free appointment setting super file that has all those scripts on setting appointments for final expense leads, just shoot me an email at doug@ufesonline.com. If you'd like information in selling final expense through us, whether it's face-to-face or using our remote telesales platform that guarantees 20 plus appointments per day, you can reach out to me and just email me at that same address. Remember, guys, very important, when you put the needs of your clients first, everything else will usually fall right into place. Now, either get out there and bang on some doors or get that headset on and do something good for someone today. Happy hunting.